So today I'm going to color this beautiful rose that comes from an artist named Mary E. Made. And you can see that I have different pencils here. So I have several Prisma pencils that I'm using. So this is the Raspberry 1030 from the Prisma. This is the Rose Deco PC 1014 from the Prismas. This is the Neon Yellow PC 1035, and this one's also called One Neon. This one is the Vert Print Temps or Empire Green PC 913 from the Prismas. This one is Grass Green, and this is PC 909. And then I have the same one that I'll be using, which is the Vert Print Temps, and it's I can't read this on here, but it's a green, and it's PC, I believe this says 906. I believe that's what that says. And then this one is a Carandace pencil, and it's 6901, the color number. It's a luminance, and it is called Dark Sap. I love this particular pencil for all of my leaves. And then this is a Holbein, and it's crimson, and it's OP062. I love this pencil too, and it blends better when I'm blending it with the Prisma colors. So I'm gonna start with the rose, and I like a little pink in my rose. Sometimes I also like a little orange in my rose, and I may get an orange out to add to the rose. But what I'm going to start with for the rose is to just fill it in. This is going to be my lightest color that I use. You'll see that I'm coloring in circles. Trying to fill in all of that tooth. One thing I love about the Prismas is they're such a soft core that they're so wonderful in being able to blend the colors that you use, from the lights to the darks. I'm going to let my light source come in from this side. So you'll see in a few minutes where I start leaving some open white spaces in order to do that. And I just kind of decide how much I want there. Just leave all that white there, just so I have that light source coming in. Carry that all the way to here. Like I said, I started coloring after I had a very significant tragedy that happened in my life 2 years and 3 months ago. And coloring has been a great source of comfort for me, utilizing my time in something that allows me to think and reflect, and sometimes also just being totally absorbed in what I'm doing while I'm coloring instead of absorbed in this horrible tragedy that occurred in my life. Many of you have been coloring all of your life, and some of you, like me, you've had something that has happened that has caused you to need something that's therapeutic in your life to help you to recover. If you would like to share those thoughts in the comments, then, you know, when we share things that happen to us, we become a source of comfort for other people, a way to be able to help other people to get through their lives too. So I'm going to change this this pink to my next color that I want to use in this rose, and this is going to be my Prisma PC 1030 Raspberry. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just begin filling that in around the edges, and once again I'm coloring in circles. I don't feel like this always has to be perfect. I'm not a perfect person, and you know, I'm not a perfect colorist either. I wish I were. Wish I were perfect at a lot of things, but that's kind of a lot of pressure to put on oneself when one believes that one has to be perfect at everything one does or at anything one does. I mean, we're human. We make mistakes in all kinds of things. Although I'm not sure that when we're making art that we can consider what we do in art to be a mistake of any kind. And so I just kind of keep circling through this with this red. Got my pink under. I'm going to kind of skip in here. I can have some gradations there. I'm going to touch this up in here. I still want my light source in here. And then, you know, if you don't get this exactly like you want it, you can always go back over it and keep working with it. Sometimes we just don't know how something's going to turn out until it's done, and then we're like, well, I could do this differently next time, or maybe work this color that I like better into this, and it's your masterpiece. You get to do this how you think is best, and with different colors. This rose would be pretty in different shades of yellow. I always heard that the yellow roses mean friendship, and the red roses mean love. I guess that's why we always want to get the red roses at Valentine's. So just filling this in. And this beautiful raspberry color. I love my Prismas. They are my favorite pencil. I have other pencils that I love also, but the Prismas are just my go-to. They're going to be in almost everything that I do. just purchased a few months ago some Sue glitter pens, and let me tell you, those were very surprising too. I want to get on here and maybe do a coloring in those. I have a Thomas Kincaid book that I've been working in, and I use those pencils to color in that so that I can bring a lot of light, since he was the painter of light. I like to use those glitter pens in that book to bring in just tons of light. You would be surprised. I know he does a Disney color book as well, but I want to get that eventually. If you have any comments on that, let me know. You know, what type of glitter pens you use, what you find to really lay down a lot of glitter and color, and what your favorite color books are. They always give me ideas for what I want to color. Okay, I don't know how that's going to turn out once I start blending, but now I want to use my Holbein red, which I love this Holbein red. This is called Crimson, and I bought this as a separate pencil on Amazon, so I didn't buy a whole pack of the Holbein, but I bought this as a separate pencil, and I have just really loved it, especially when I combine it with the Prismas and start blending with it. So this is a little bit darker, so I'm going to go around the edges here with this darker Holbein. You can see it's not a lot of difference, but you can see some difference there. I'm just going to go around the edges a little bit, darken that in. And these wind up making, once you blend all these colors, they just make such a rich blend of shading. So I get in all the little like crevices here where colors get a little bit darker around the edges. Like I say, you don't know how your masterpiece is going to turn out until you're done. I don't know how this is going to turn out until I'm done. I hope it's beautiful. If it's not, you can always print another copy off and start over, especially when you're on some of these Etsy sites where you get to print. We print this on cardstock too, not just regular typing paper. Gives you a little more something to work with and the ability to blend the colors. All right, so this is what I have right now, and so what I want to do is I want to do something called burnishing. And so I'm going to take you can do this in white too, but I like to take the lightest color that I have on the page, and then I like to go over everything with that lightest color. So the color that I begin with was this Deco Pink PC 1014. It's a Prisma pencil, and so I'm just going to start trying to burnish that, and I just do it by going in circles. And what it does is it starts blending those Prisma pencils color, and then also it picks up the Holbein Crimson Red. And that way you get your shadows and your depth and your light. And I just burnish. I'm not an expert. This is just how I do it for anybody who wants to do this the same way or different. You see there, you can see that nice gradation of color. The pink coming through that red. You do get a little bit of flaking sometimes, which with the Prisma pencils, which I'm getting here, and I'm okay with that because all I have to do is brush this off later. If it makes any marks outside of what I'm doing, then I can just take an eraser and erase around my image. You can see how that's blending nicely. Doing this in circles. I love these light colored pencils because, like I was saying, I usually burn through these a lot more quickly than the other pencils because I use them to burnish too. So I just keep burnishing this red with this lighter color. So I use all like my light blues, my lightest pinks, my lightest lavenders, my lightest oranges, and you know, that'll be my base color when I'm coloring. And then I'll get 2 to 3 more pencils and I'll use those as my darker colors and my highlights and that kind of thing. See if I can get some of, just wipe some of that flaking off. Start again. You can see it trying to blend the colors here. Picking up that red, that Holbein red. I just love that. It's just looking so pretty here. It's picking up the Prisma red, blending the Prisma red in with the Holbein red and the pink. I mean, when you're doing these, it's just so relaxing. Takes your mind away from everything that might be an issue in your life. If you're not careful, you can become very addicted to coloring. But what a wonderful thing to be addicted to. All the beautiful work that is created from being able to just absorb yourself into this activity. And you can frame these and give them to friends, for presents. Who doesn't like art that can be hung in their houses or offices? Art is expensive when you go to the stores to buy art. If you give someone a beautiful piece of original art, most people just love that. And they love to know that someone thought about them and took the time to sit and to create something for them. Because when you create something for someone, especially a color piece, an art piece, every color, excuse me, brush some of that excess off. Every color, every line that you make, every circle is basically something that you're doing for someone else. So they love that. I like the way that turned out. Now, if you want to burnish more, you can actually take what's called a burnishing pencil. Let me see if I have one that I can show you here. Okay, I don't see one right here. I have one that's not sharpened. And I'll show you one that's not sharpened. I have one somewhere that is sharpened. But this is what a burnishing pencil looks like in the Prisma. Okay, it's colorless. There's no color. You sharpen it just like the pens, and then if you're wanting to burnish that way, then you can just sort of push the colors around. And I might even go back and do this a little bit. In fact, if I could find my burnishing pencil, maybe this is, yeah, this is a burnishing pencil. This is what it looks like sharpened. That's unsharpened and that's sharpened. And so what you do with this is you just start blending and moving the colors around a little bit if you want to do that a little bit more. If you get a good piece of cardstock, the paper will be able to take that. And so you just start rubbing in a little more. That's all you do. You can do this with white too. White will kind of fade the color out a little bit, but sometimes you want that, just according to what you want. So you can see those little edges coming out there. So you can do a combination of things to burnish a piece of artwork. You can do it with white, you can do it with the lightest color. And then you can go back over it with a burnishing pencil. I can see that blending even more. Now I'm doing this in circles. I can see those colors blending even more. I just love the way this has turned out. I might frame this and give this to one of my friends at work. They have been, since I went through my tragedy, my friends at work have just really been a major support group for me. I could not have asked for better people in helping me to get through what we had to get through. So that's what I would do in order to be able to burnish a rose that I was working on. Now, I'm going to also work on these leaves for you and the stems of the flower. And so I love this neon yellow pencil for that, because what happens with using this neon yellow pencil is that when I go to burnish the leaves, the greens into the leaves, this neon yellow will still pull that color out like sunshine. And so this is a neon yellow Prisma pencil. It's the PC 1035. And so just like I did with the rose, and I would clean this up a little bit, but just like I did with the rose, I just start filling in everything with this beautiful bright color. And you will see, when I'm finished with this, you will see how that beautiful yellow just brings out the color in those leaves. And this was all by trial and error when I began coloring. When I first started coloring, I didn't even know about Prisma pencils. I didn't know what kind of pencils there were available. Someone had given me color books probably 15 years before we had our tragedy, and I had colored a little bit, but not a lot. And then I had sort of put all of that in a box to the side. And then a few months after what had happened in our family, I don't exactly know why I did it, but I just took out those color books and I started coloring. And at first I was just using markers, which I love markers too. I still use markers. But I was just coloring using markers, and you know, a few of the off-brand pencils, which are good too. I still use those as well. But I didn't know that there were pencils like Prisma pencils, and I didn't know about the Caran d'Ache pencils, and I didn't know about the Holbeins, and the Faber-Castells, and then the Derwents. I didn't even know those existed. And so I started joining some color books. After I got into this, I started joining some color book groups on Facebook. And they were talking about all these different pencils and different color books and techniques and all those different kinds of things. And so I became more and more interested in that, what was out there and what was available. It doesn't hurt to expand your repertoire of materials that you use, because once you get all of your materials, then you can just combine all of them to color all kinds of things. And even in one coloring, I mean, it's just like in this one, I have the Caran d'Aches, the Prismas, and the Holbeins working together to create one piece of art. Well, you can do that with all of the other medium too. And then I started looking on YouTube, looking up how to color this and how to color that. And then one thing led to another, and just learning all different kinds of technique. And then it was so powerful in helping me to get through so many of my days. I mean, it was even 8 months before I could go back to work. And you know, I'll go ahead and tell you, I lost my oldest son, and I cannot tell you the devastation of such a horrific loss and the sorrow that one feels when something so tragic happens. And so, even though, of course, nothing will ever take that pain away, the coloring won't take that pain away, nothing will. one of the things that you have to do when something like that happens is you have to be able to fill your time after the first few months. The first few months, I mean, you're not even there. You know, I would bathe and dress and get back in the bed for the day for probably about the first 4 months. And then I had my daughter here. You know, she was devastated, but we were trying to help each other to get through it. And my baby son, who he and my oldest son were best friends, owned businesses together, and I'll tell you about them sometime, and what a beautiful relationship they had. And so, you know, this devastation and not knowing how you're going to be able to get through your life after something like that happens, after you lose a child. And one of the worst things that can probably ever happen to a person. And so after a few months of not even really functioning, it took me 8 months to go back to work. I'm a teacher. It took me 8 months to go back to work, and because I just couldn't cope. And it's still not always easy to cope, but I'm stronger. I'm stronger than I was. And I know that my son would want me to be well. But the coloring gave me an outlet, so that I color in my dining room mostly, but I would come into my dining room, and, you know, I'd be looking for something beautiful to color. And at first it was hummingbirds. And that may have been what actually got me to coloring, because for a while my friends at work had given money in order to buy flowers for my son's funeral, and there were funds left over from that. And so I bought 2 hummingbird feeders and a plant for my friends to start him a memorial garden. And so for several months I sat on my back porch and became friends with the hummingbirds, to the point that they would even come up to me and sit on my hand while I was outside watching them. And so I think maybe because I got so invested in the coloring, and then, in the hummingbirds, and then the coloring came soon after that, I began coloring hummingbirds. And so those were the first few colorings that I actually, that I actually did. And it gave me something. It gave me that little bit of life to be able to cling to, because they would come up to me and, be a part of my day for all of those sad days that I had without my son. And so I began coloring the hummingbirds, and now I just color everything. I just love to color so many different things. So as you see, I began with that light base, bright colored neon yellow. And then I chose, this is my second color. This is the spring green, which I love. You can see it's a small pencil, and I think I have a second pencil. Yeah, that's the same color, I believe, or close to it. They're very similar. So so you can see these are very small, but I use these a lot. So I may have to be replacing these soon. And then I have this beautiful darker green. This is a Prismacolor. This is grass green, so I like it a lot. So I'm gonna tip these just a little bit in that, and you can see that's really pretty. I just love that particular color. I'll darken this stem a little bit and some of the edges. Kind of alternate there. So I'm just gonna tip these edges, and maybe the vine on the inside of the flower. So just tip it there and there, all the way down, so that I get every flower. every leaf. Just such a beautiful pastime. I love to do the landscapes too. I have a landscape book called 100 Landscapes that I bought on Amazon, and I've colored quite a few things in that. I usually have about 5 different color pages going at one time, and they're stretched out neatly on my dining room table where I love to color. And then I'll work on one for a little while, and then I'll move to the next one. And then I'll work on the next one for a little while. And by the end of the month, I've usually created about 4 or 5 different color pages. And I won't start new ones until all 5 of those are completed. And then when all 5 of those are completed, then I will go through all of my color books and pick out the next color page that I want to do. And even these from Etsy. Like I said, this one's from Mary E. Made. I gotta get on there and print some more from that particular site. She's an original artist, and she does such beautiful work. And I have Mary E. Made that I like to go to, and I'm gonna check out some other ones on Etsy too, because I love to support original art. And then I have my Kincaid book, Painter of Light, that one of my best friends got me at work because she knew I loved to color. And then I have my 100 Landscapes. I just bought one called, I'll have to look that up. It's Pearls and Shells, I think is what it's called. Let's see. Yeah, this is my 100 Landscapes book. So I got that one off of Amazon, and I absolutely love it. This one I just got a few months ago. I haven't colored in it yet, but it's called Pearl Shell Worlds. And I've seen other people color in this book, and they're beautiful. And then I have a couple of mermaid books and animal books and all of those kinds of things that I like to color. But like I say, I have usually about 5 going at one time. And see how I skipped that a little bit? So I could let a little light in there, a little variegation in there, which is what you see with stems and leaves and something like this. I'm going to color it, and you just get to choose where you want to darken things up. You see that sort of neon yellow radiating from the sides of that darker green, which is always nice. I like the one that's a chartreuse yellow. I may have said that incorrectly. You guys can correct me if I did. Now I want to pick up with this. I love, love, love this from Caran d'Ache. It's my Luminance 6901, and the color on this is dark sap green, and it is just so beautiful. And so what I'll do is, just for a subtle effect, make sure you guys can still see this here. And so what I'll do is just go tip the ends. Uh-oh, that broke off a little bit. I'll just tip the ends here. You see it's just a tad darker. I'll do the same thing right there in that crevice. That way you get all those greens peeking out. I'll cover everything up. Just right there in those crevices. Just a tad. Such a nice color, and it blends so well with your Prismas. Like I said, you know, you get these colors and you just, and these different pencils, and just use them all together. That's what I like to do. I didn't do this at first because I didn't know they existed. So this has been a learning experience for me too. I thank all of the wonderful artists who are out there posting YouTube videos and talking about these different techniques on these different Facebook color groups I'm in. Without them, I wouldn't be able to do, not that I'm a great artist or anything, but I wouldn't be able to do some of the techniques that I like to use for shading and highlighting and all of those things, all of those techniques. And you know, we learn so much from each other. I tell my students, hopefully, from the time we're born until the time we're not here anymore, when we go to see our loved ones, and I know I have someone I want to see one day, but hopefully during that time, we are always experiencing the wonder of learning something new from the time we're born until the time that we move on to our next life, or in the next life. So just tipping all this so that we can burnish in a few minutes. In those crevices where there might be shading coming down this stem. The light source is coming this way, so I'm going to try to stretch that down a little bit, leave some of this yellow that I love so much shining through. Get that variegated look, variegated appearance. And we can see that that's just beautiful with the shading. You can see all that pretty light coming through there. And so now I'm going to go back and I'm going to take this neon yellow that I started with, just like I did with the rose, with the pink. And I'm just going to start blending that a little better. And so I'll start here. And you can see how it's mixing that and pulling those colors together. I just love that. I'm even going to do it here on the stem because I want that blended too. I'm getting a little refuse here, but that's okay. I'm going to brush that off. Sometimes I'm not always coloring in circles. Sometimes I am, but sometimes I'm also going with the direction of the leaf or the direction of whatever the design is. For instance, if I were coloring water, I would go in the direction of whichever way the water is moving. I haven't colored a lot of animals like with fur, but I imagine I want to try that. Some of you might can write in the comments the techniques for doing fur. So I don't really know the exact technique of how these beautiful colors color some of the fur that they do for the beautiful animals that they choose to color. I would like to try that though. I'm going to brush some of this off. This page that you see under what I'm coloring, I probably should have a pad doing this, but anyway, this is from a book that my baby son bought me. I think the Christmas, either the first Christmas after my oldest son passed away, or the second Christmas, I can't remember, but I love coloring in that book too. And it does have therapeutic sayings in it, and it asks that you write things down, which is always therapeutic also. I'm a writing teacher, and so we do free writes in my class, and focus free writes, and all kinds of pre-writing and different types of writing. But with the focus free writes, or not the focus free writes, but with the free writes, there's almost a form of catharsis there where people are writing down all of their thoughts, everything that might be bothering them, which is great therapy. Or they could be writing down all of their happy thoughts. That happens too. That's always a good thing to happen. But if we're able to write down things that are causing us a lot of pain, it's a way of getting it down on paper so that we can work through it a little better. Working through things that we can't change, unfortunately, sometimes. And trying to get through those moments in our lives that hurt us as humans. Because we're all human. And we all have those things that bring us heartache. And because those things happen to us, because we're human, we have to have a way of coping with those things. Okay, so you can see here that I'm burnishing. So it's picking up that lovely, lovely, bright neon color. And blending it with those darker heavenly greens. Green is the color of life. For those of you who are grieving something, who are trying to get through something, if you want to write in the comments what you've done to move forward in your life in the best way that that you're able to, feel free to do that. It might be music, it might be gardening, might be an array of things. And that's what's happened to me. I do an array of things that help me to get through my life without my son. Oops, I forgot to put some color down in here in this one. So if that happens, you just go back and add your colors. Put that nice green in there. Went out of the line a little bit. I have to go back and erase that. And then tip it with that darker green for blending. Okay. Got in a hurry there, ran out of my line there. Okay, and then just blend like you've been doing, and I'll go back and erase that once I finish this coloring. Dust this a little bit again. When I say I'm dusting, I'm just sort of, I don't have a brush or anything over here. I'm just sort of wiping lightly with my fingers to get that off, and then I'll go back with an eraser and sort of pick up anything that's been left on there. Now here I have a little bit of, let me see if I can find my burnishing pencil. I'm gonna wipe this off a little bit because I was burnishing with the red. I want to make sure that red is not blending in with my green there. So I'm just going to wipe the tip off a little bit, scrape it off a little bit with my nail here. And then here, I'm just going to start blending this. I want it blended just a little bit more. Didn't blend quite as much as I wanted it to. So that's usually when I'll go back and use my burnishing pencil. And just make it a little bit smoother, the transitions, the lines, so there's no clumping. You can see how that's already blending and looking smoother. And like I said, that's a good reason for having your thick cardstock. You want to make sure that your paper can take. the techniques that you're using without tearing into the paper. Yeah, that's looking so much nicer. You can see it's collecting here again, so I'll just wind up wiping some of that off. And it's okay if you go out the lines a little bit. Like this, to me, just looks like the stem is glowing. I don't have a problem with that. And all this burnishing pencil does is it just moves the colors together, the darker colors, helping to blend them into the lighter colors, so you don't have like huge gradations there. So much fun to create. Now I've just got to decide which friend I want to frame this for. Who do I want to give this to? Who should get the red rose? Gosh, that sounds like The Bachelor and The Bachelorette now. Yes, I'm hooked too. I'm hooked on The Bachelor and The Bachelorette. Okay, let me see if I can wipe this off a little bit again. Okay, and there it is. I think it's beautiful. I love it. And I'll work on the flower, and I may videotape while I'm doing the butterfly. And I didn't mean work on the flower, I meant work on the butterfly. And I may videotape that when I begin working on it. I enjoyed coloring with you today. And like I said, if you have any tips for coloring, shading, highlighting, different pencils that you use, therapy and the way coloring has helped you to get through difficult times in anything in your life, or you know, if you just want to talk about the joys of coloring and those kinds of things, please leave those in the comments for you. I mean, for me and for others, they help all of us so much to be able to heal and to be able to move forward in our lives when things that aren't the best happen to us. You guys take care and have a blessed day. Bye-bye.